Hi guys, Mrs. Delisin here. Welcome to another lesson of Algebra 2. Today's lesson is linear versus exponential functions. But we are really going to concentrate on what exponential functions look like. Our learning objective, we will learn how to determine and utilize the constant ratio of an exponential function. Now I'm going to highlight the word constant ratio. Okay? Linear functions have the property that equal changes in input yield to equal changes in output. Okay, this equal change in output resulting from a single unit increase in input is called the slope of the line. In exponential functions, we have the property that equal changes in input yield equal ratios of the corresponding outputs. And we will call this the constant ratio or the constant percentage growth rate. Okay, so I'm going to call that the constant ratio. So here is an example of a linear function, a linear graph versus this is exponential. Okay? And for linear, that's really called the mx plus b, right? Where m is your slope. So this is m, that's your m, and that's your m. Okay? If you notice for the linear, you keep adding 2. So plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. As it keeps growing, you keep adding 2 to the y values. And then over here on an exponential function, it doesn't look like we are adding 2. We keep multiplying 2. And we call this our b value. And the b is also called the constant ratio. For the word constant, right? It's the same thing every time. Okay, so for linear, we keep adding 2. For exponential, we keep multiplying. And of course, it's not going to be multiplying by 2. It's going to be multiplying by different kinds of b values later on. And now, from now on, we are going to kind of forget what, or we're going to not forget, but set aside linear functions because we are going to focus on exponential functions. Okay. The goal is, how do we get the b value? How do we get the constant ratio? So in this case, our constant ratio is 2. If you notice, I keep 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm guessing that the next point would be 4 comma 16 because 8 times 2, right? So the x values keep increasing by 1. But our y values keeps increasing by multiplying it by 2. Okay, let's moving on in here. We are going to determine the constant ratio. We have determined 2 points whose x values are exactly 1 unit apart. Compute the ratio of the corresponding y values, and we will call this the value b. So for example, please note that all of these are connected to this table. Okay, we have f of 1 over f of 0. So I want to make emphasis on this. These numbers inside the parentheses are the x values, and then the numbers right there are the y values. So instead of calling that f of x, I'm going to call that y. Okay, let's try to see what's going on here. F of 1. So if our x value is 1, my y value is 3. So f of 1 is equal to 3. Okay, what about the bottom? F of 0, meaning if the x value is 0, my y is equal to 1. And that's the reason why you have a 1. And then I am going to divide 3 divided by 1, I'll get a 3. And the 3 is what we call our b value. Okay, and I'm going to add something in here to keep us in check of how many unit apart is from 0 to 1. So how many unit apart is from 0 to 1? That's 1 unit apart. So I'm going to go say that it has a difference of 1. Okay, from 0 to 1. Moving on to the next example. This is my x value and that's my y value. So I have, let me erase this a little bit. Oh, not that one. That was good. Okay. I have here f of 2. So when my x is 2, my y is 9. My f of 1, if my f is 1, my value is 3. Right? So these are the y values. 9 divided by 3 gives us a 3. And the 3 is what we call our b value. If you notice here, our b values are the same. Right? 3 and 3. Let's move on to the next pair of numbers. We have, and I will not forget that the difference between the two x's is 1. Right? From 1 to 2. So from 1 to 2 or 2 to 1. Okay, moving on. I have here f of 3. So when my x is 3, my y is 27. Let's verify. If my x is 3, my y is 27. Correct? Next, my x is 2, my y is 9. My x is 2, my y is 9. Correct. 27 divided by 9 is 3. 3 is what we call our b value. Moving on. F of 4. And I think you guys can, I'm going to stop right there. And I think this is just over and over. This is x, this is y. This is x, this is y. This is our b value. This is our b value. And our difference is 1. Okay, difference of 1. What I'm trying to say that in there is my x values are 1 unit apart. This is also diff of 1. This is also diff of 1. Okay, moving on. Same table, but let's see what's happening over here. I have my x value, y value, and then this is my b value. Let's name it x and y, x and y, x and y. And this is my, sorry, let's do that one later. So x and y, x and y, x and y, x and y. Okay, now let's try to check. If my x is 2, my y is 9. If my x is 2, my y is 9, and that is correct. If my x is 0, my y is 1, and that is correct. 9 divided by 1 is 9. Now, I would like to see what's the difference in here. The difference here is no longer 1, yeah? The difference here is now a 2, because from an x value 0, we jump to an x value 2. That means this is no longer a x values with a difference of a unit of 1. It's now a difference of unit of 2. So our answer, the 9, it's no longer the b value. That is now the b squared. Does that make sense? And then this is now my b squared. That is now my b squared. That is now my b squared. So let's analyze what is going on in here. What is this b and what is this b squared? So my b, on the previous examples over here, my b is what we call the constant ratio. The number that I will keep multiplying to the y values to get to the next value higher than it. So if I go to my table, since my b value is 3, I will keep multiplying this by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Very good. 9 times 3 is 27. So the next number is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. 81 times 3 is 243. And then 200, if I have another number here, then that would be 6 and 729, because 243 times 3 is 729. Does that make sense? So if I have the b squared, how am I gonna identify my b value? Like, how do I get to my, because I don't want a b squared, I want a b. So for example, I have a b squared of 9. Right? So for 2 units, the difference of 2, these are all difference of 2, yeah? Diff of 2, because from 1 to 3, so difference of 2, and this is also difference of 2. So if I want my And so all the 9s are the b squared. But if I want the b, then I would have to square it on both sides. So my b is 3. So I still went back to that my b is equal to 3. That makes sense? Over here, these are same thing, my x and my y, x and y, x and y. And so, I want to figure out the difference. What's my difference in here? My difference in here is from 0 to 3. So, that's a difference of 3. So, from 0 to 3, from 1 to 4, that's a difference of 3. From 2 to 5, that's a difference of 3. Therefore, this 27 that I have here is no longer my b value, right? Because b value has to be 1 unit apart. But this is now 3 units apart. So, this is no longer called the b value, but the b cube. So, b cube and b cube. So, if I have a b cube equals 27, what is my b value? I'm hoping that you are saying that the b value is 3, right? Because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And again, given a b cube, you should be able to identify the b value, the constant ratio, by doing a cube root of the number. Okay? So, let us make up a formula so that it's easier for us to identify what the b value is if we don't, let's say for example, what if we don't have a complete table, right? So, let's set up a formula. Okay, let's set up a formula over here. Okay, and hopefully you are going to follow this one and put this one in, like, highlighted or in a box. So I'm going to set up the formula into, how I have f of my x value over another f of x value equals whatever the y is. That's the answer. The answer to that is the b value. Okay? So every time I am being asked, what's the b value? I would always go to this. I would always set the formula this way. Okay, let's take a look. Over here in letter A, I am going to fill in the blanks of the following exponential function. So in here, I have a blank going on, so I need to find the value of that. So I need to figure out what is my b value. Let us write that formula that I set up with you guys earlier. So this is f of I don't know yet, f of I don't know yet, maybe that's too small, equals b. Okay, so let's pick. Obviously, I cannot put this x value in there because that doesn't have a y value partner. Right? So I am going to use this 0, 6 and 1, 18. So I need to know which one do I put on the top, the 0, 6 or the 1, 18. Please remember that the one on the top is the one with the higher x value. Not the higher y value, okay? The higher x value. So since this one has the higher x value, I'm going to put it on the top. So that is f of 1. And f of 1 has a y value of 18. And then f of 0 has a y value of 6. And so this is 18 divided by 6. And 18 divided by 6 is equal to 3. So my b value is equal to 3. Okay, what does that mean? So because I know that my b value is equal to 3, that's the number that I will multiply to my value to get to my y value to get to the next y value. So I'm going to multiply this by 3 to get to the next. So 6 times 3 is 18. And I'm going to multiply 18 times 3 to get to the next value 1 unit apart. So 18 times 3 is 54. So 54 is the missing number. Okay? So my b value there is 3. Moving on. I'm going to set my formula again into f of something equals my b value, which whatever that b value is later on. Okay, so I have these two given numbers, and I think I forgot something. There is diff of 1, right? From 0 to 1, the difference between the x values are only 1. So it's 1 unit apart. So whatever I get after I divide, that's already my b value. Okay, moving on. Sorry about that, I forgot. So here I have 2 comma 8, 1 comma 2. So since 2 comma 8 has a bigger x value than 1 comma 2, 2 is going to be there. So f of 2 has a y value of 8. And then f of 1 has a y value of 2. So 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. The difference between the x values are only 1. So the 4 is our b value. So I am going to multiply my 2 by 4 to get to the next number. Right? So in here, it looks like I'm going backwards here, yeah? So what do I multiply? What number that when I multiply it by 4, I will get a 2? I will repeat, what number that when I multiply by 4, I will get a 2. Okay? So let's do that using a algebra. What number that when I multiply by 4, I get a 2? Does that mean just doing it, dividing both by 4? So that number is 1/2. So we are missing 1/2 over here. And let's verify. Is 1/2 times 4 gives us 2? Yes. So 1/2 is the missing number. Okay, moving on. This one seems to be easy, yeah? I think you can even solve this without solving. Okay, so I'm going to pick two numbers that are 1 unit apart. So let us set the formula. F of blank equals, and that is my b value. So f of 1 as 10. Remember, the bigger x goes on the top. 0 has a 5, so that means b is equal to 2. Now, I need to make sure that I know that the difference between the two units, between the x values. So the difference is only 1. Therefore, whatever result after I divide, that is the b value. So what I'm going to do here is multiply each by 2. Times by 2 is 10, times by 2 is 20, times by 2 is 40, times by 2 is 80. So 80 is the missing number. Okay, moving on, letter D. I have to pick two numbers. It doesn't really matter which number you use. You can use -2 and -1. You can use -1 and 0. It doesn't really matter. So let's set our f of something equals the b value. Okay, so which one is bigger, -1 or -2? Of course, -1 is bigger, you guys. So we are going to put a -1 on the top of it. Okay, so -1 over here. You can also use 0 and a -1, okay? So -1 has a value of 6. -2 has a y value of 18. So we have 6 divided by 18 is 1/3. B is 1/3. Now we have to identify, is this a b value? Is this the b squared? Or is this the b cubed? So we need to find the difference, and that's just 1. Right? From -1 to -2, or -2 to -1, that's 1 unit apart. Okay? And because that's 1 unit apart, this 1/3 is our b value. So I am going to multiply each of them by 1/3. So I have 18 times 1/3 is a 6. 6 times 1/3 is a 2. 2 times 1/3 is 2/3. So the missing y value is 2/3. Okay, I'm hoping that, we have 4 more. Okay, let's set up this one. F of something equals the b value. So what numbers? I have 2 things missing. So what numbers do I have to use? I'm going to use this. Because 1.6 is bigger than 0.6, 1.6 goes on the top. And 1.6 has a y of 80. 0.6 has a y value of 80. So 80 divide by 8 is going to be b value of 10. Okay, so our b value over here is 10. Now, we are going to take a look. Do we have from 1.6 to 0.6? I think that's a difference of 1 only, yeah? Because 1 plus 0.6 is 1.6. And so our b here is not a b squared, not a b cubed. This is actually our b value, the correct b value, which is called also the constant ratio. So I'm going to keep multiplying 10 to get to the next number. So 8 times 10 gives us 80. 80 times 10 will give us 800. So 800 is a missing number. Oh, what about going backwards though? So what number that when I multiply to 10, I will get 8? What number that when I multiply to 10, I'll get 8? Or technically, what's 8 divided by 10, right? So what number that when I multiply to 10, I'll get 8? So divide by 10 on both sides. That number is going to be 0.8. So the missing number here is 0.8. Or you can put 4 divided by 5. 8 divided by 10 is 4/5, yeah? So you can either say 4 over 5 or you can put 0.8. So let's review. 0.8 times 10 is 8. 8 times 10 is 80. 80 times 10 is 800. There you have it. Next, we have here f of I don't know equals b. Okay. So I have, what am I given? I'm given this and I'm given this. So I have 1 versus -1. So 1 is bigger. So I'm going to put 1 on the top. So 1 on the top with a y of 49. -1 with a 1 with the 1 of 1. With the y of 1. So that is 49. That's 49. Now the question is this, okay, let's put that over here. Sorry. 49. Okay, the question is, what's the difference? Do we have a difference of 1 or a difference of 2? It looks like in this case we have a difference of 2, right? Because from -1 to 0, from 0 to 1, our x values are actually 2 units apart. So this is a difference of 2. So 49 is actually not our b, but that's our b squared. So square root on both sides, our b is equal to 7. Okay, so let's multiply every number by 7. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. So the missing number in the blank is 0.7. Okay, last two. So we have f of 1. The y of 1 is 90. And then we have f of 0. The y of that is 100. So that's 9 over 10. You can put 9 over 10 or you can put, 9 over 10. Hello. 9 over, sorry. I can put 0.9. There you go. Okay? So, alright, you can put 9 over 10 of course, but I can just put a decimal value of 0.9. That is perfectly fine. And so, is this our b squared, or is this our b cubed? So, let us find the difference. from the x value 0 to the x value 1, the difference of the x values is 1. So our b is equal to zero point 0.9. We are going to multiply 0.9. 100 times zero point 0.9 is 90. 90 times zero point 0.9, maybe I'll put parenthesis instead, right? Okay, 100 times zero point 0.9 is 90. 90 times zero point 0.9 is 8 on 1. So we're missing 81. Okay, moving on. Last steps. We have f of I don't know, f of I don't know equals. Okay, so we don't have a choice. We are given this only and that. So the 7 has a bigger x value, so that goes top. And then 64, 4, and 1. So 64 divided by 1 is 64. And what's the difference? From 4 to 5, from 5 to 6, from 6 to 7, that's 3 units apart, right? So 1, 2, and 3. So it's 3 units apart. So the 64 is not the b value, you guys. That's the b cube, right? So we need to find our b value. And hopefully you know that that is 4. Because 4 times 4 times 4, right? 4 times 3, 3 times by itself is going to be 64. So our b value is 4. So times by 4 is 4. Oh, again, I keep forgetting that. So let's put 4. So this is 4. And then 4 times 4 again is 16. 16 times 4 is going to be 64. So the missing numbers are 4 and 16. Okay? There you have it. I hope that you are understanding what a constant ratio is and how to get the constant ratio. Before I close this video, make sure P means constant ratio. Okay, there you go. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. And hopefully I can still see you on the next video. Bye.